Hello, my name is Ronak and today we are going to learn about aggregate function in base R. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the points which we are going to cover in this video. Why should we use aggregate function? In which cases we should use it? How should we use it? And by that I mean its syntax. There are more than one way in which we could use the aggregate function. So what are different syntax which we can use? We'll also have a look at which syntax is better and why. And lastly, we'll have a look at some examples. So let's begin. So when and why we should use the aggregate function. Let's say you are a social media company and you want to check the trend of number of new signups which are happening. You can aggregate the number of signups on daily basis to know what are number of new accounts which are signing up, or to get a broader view we can look at signups on weekly, monthly or even yearly basis. Aggregate helps to get a broader picture of the data. We can get the trend which is happening easily by taking aggregation. We can also get different statistics by group using aggregate. We can get sum, mean, median, or any other statistics which we want by group using aggregate. It returns only one row per group. We can decide the group. It can be only based on one column, or it can also be based on multiple columns in the database which we have. Now let's look at one of the syntax, the way in which we can call the aggregate function. There are three main parts of the function. The X parameter, it has to be an R object. Usually it's the column which we want to aggregate. The by parameter, it's the grouping variable, but it is expected to be a list. It should be a column name on which we want to group upon. And finally, the fun argument. The fun is a short form for function. It's the function which we need to apply on each group. We can take a quick look at the default empty cast dataset in R. Here in this example, we are grouping MPG column on CYL and taking the sum of the variables in the group. So there are three unique values in CYL column, which is 4, 6 and 8, and we have taken sum of all the MPG values. Another syntax in which we can use the aggregate function is by using the formula syntax. In this, we use a formula such as y tilde x, where variables on the left are the ones with which we want to aggregate, and that on the right are the grouping variable. Data consists of a data frame which has those variables present in it. Fun is the same as shown in the previous example, the function which we want to apply on each group. The same example can now be written in a more simpler fashion. Now which syntax is better? For comparison purposes, I have kept both the syntax next to each other. Now this is more of a subjective and more of a coding style, but many of them prefer the formula syntax since the syntax is clear, tidy and easily interpretable. You get a clear idea of what is going on. There is no need to mention data frame name again and again. So in the first syntax, we had to explicitly mention the data frame names as emptycast $mpg, whereas it was not the case in the formula syntax, as we can see in the second example. The by argument in the data frame syntax has to be list, so we need to convert the column to list and then apply the aggregate function. No such thing is required in the formula syntax. The output in the formula syntax maintains the column names, which is not the case in the data frame syntax, and it returns some weird column names which we might need to rename in future, adding an additional step. Some more examples to understand the function. We can also group by more than one column by just adding a plus symbol and adding the column name. The first example gives grouped by CYL and carb column. In the second example, we aggregate two variables, MPG and gear, which can be done using cbind with two grouping variables cyl and carb and take the sum over it. So in summary, today we learned different syntaxes on how to aggregate one or multiple variables on different grouping variables. You can explore how to apply different and multiple functions using aggregate function. In all the examples we covered, we used only sum function, but there are lots of many functions which can be used. Also try to use some another data frame other than empty cars and see how the results vary. Thank you for watching the video.